6 minutes, 8:43.
Hello and welcome to TFF TV, Top Flight Football. I'm your host Furkan Yağmur, joined by my colleague Oğuz Suvay, and we will be delving into the heart of Turkish football, covering Galatasaray's sensational win against Manchester United in the Champions League, and of course their performance so far in the Trendyol Super Lig. But that's not all. We'll also be taking a close look at how Besiktas and Fenerbahce are doing in the Europa Conference League alongside the Trendyol Super League. And before long, I want to give the mic to my colleague Oz, and I want to ask him how it is, covering Galatasaray from the other end of the world. He's in Australia. How's that?
It's a challenging one, mate. Fun fact before we go ahead, we've been saying Trendyol, right? Trendyol. Everyone's been calling it Trendyol for years, but I just found out that it was actually Trendyol, which means be trendy instead of trend wave that we've been saying it. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I had no idea. I just realized that
That is so funny. So for all the Turks out there, get it right. How's it being a Galatasaray supporter in Australia? It's very hard, very challenging, very sleep depriving. It is a lot of commitment, a lot of love, a lot of passion for the game, and that's what we've been pretty much trying to do to follow the league. It's very challenging, but I'm sure a lot of my friends what to do, but I do wake up for every game and then go back to sleep and then somehow wake up and not affect the next morning. We had the Manchester United Galatasaray game a couple of days ago, and it was at 6 a.m. So we actually got a couple of friends together, and then we spoke about the Bayern Munich game, which was going to be at 3:45 a.m. And everyone was like, "Nah, I can't make it to that. I've got to work."
40 a.m. watching football. That's tough.
3:40 a.m. Yep, in the middle of the morning. But you do it, man. I've been watching every game, especially since Okan has joined as the coach. Before that, even when I don't remember his name, the coach that we had, Torrent, after Fatih Terim
Yeah.
left, I even gave him a try, and that wasn't happening. But I still watch the games. I still watch those last few games, and but since then it's been a reason to wake up. Definitely gets you out of your bed, the passion, the love, and when the team does well as well, having not lost since April, I think. It's pretty
Last
good.
15 games, yeah,
Especially when
Galatasaray
it-
so far. Last 15 games, they are yet to lose.
They haven't lost, yes. A few games I've lost count, but it's good news, good indications. This hasn't happened in a while. The last run we had was with Schneider, Drogba, and Melo squad, the combo, where
Yeah.
we lost to Real Madrid at home. But yeah, it's been a long time coming. I think there's a lot of fans that were waiting for this. A lot of Gala supporters, a lot of Turkish supporters, a lot of supporters in general. Because
Yeah,
as the teams do
Old
well,
Trafford was all you could. I don't know. I watched the game on CBS,
hmm
American channel, and all I could hear
yes,
were the Galatasaray chants. Obviously for someone watching the game who might not know the Galatasaray chants, they might have not picked up on it. But anyone who knows, it was like I don't even know how many Galatasaray fans were there, but they were able to silence the entirety of Old Trafford, even when
yes,
Manchester
exactly.
United were leading.
You know what the interesting thing is?
Even when
A lot of the channels that broadcast these games, I'm not sure if it's the same, but in the Turkish channel, they actually give a bit more of the audience volume. So you can actually hear them more. That's why I love watching it live in Turkish. What's happening with these English and I guess the American channels is that they always have a more sort of monotone crowd noise, I should say, from what I understand. And even then, like you said, even then you can still hear the fans really, taking the Old Trafford
All
crowd
right.
on.
So
I watched a few
without
reaction videos after the game, and definitely they were there.
so without further ado, let's sort of get into um, the game. Galatasaray were able to beat Manchester United away. We're a bit late about analyzing this game, but it's definitely one worth
Yes.
analyzing. And I'm going to ask our director here to bring up the lineups and like the tactics that were played. Uh,
Yeah.
but so I'll start by saying, like, what did you expect and what did you see? With this game.
Um, that first of all, that game is one for the books. Definitely one for the books because of how it happened. Not for a Gala fan, just for a fan in general who's watching top flight football. Champions League, European football, Manchester United in England, playing at home. Watching a game like that was definitely one that we had missed in terms of this modern football that they've been playing. And the fact that the ball was, everywhere, there were chances missed, there were goals scored, there was, fan involvement, there was red cards, there was penalties, there was everything that you would want from a football game, right?
True, true.
And funny thing is, Galatasaray has played Manchester United before. Alex Ferguson has said things like, he doesn't like playing in Turkey, he doesn't like playing against Galatasaray because of the stadium, because of the audience, the atmosphere. And 30 years ago, exactly 30 years ago, actually, we actually drew. We've scored another 3 goals in Old Trafford. It was 3-3, and I'm pretty sure we knocked them out of the Champions League. 30 years later, to score 3 more goals in Old Trafford again in this fashion, by getting down and then getting ahead again and missing a penalty and scoring in the last 10 minutes. It was definitely one for the books, and I think it's going to be one to be remembered.
I'm gonna cut you up over there a bit. I
Yeah,
don't 100% agree that this was one for the books. Simply because
yeah,
I mean Manchester United have very good individual players, very very good individual players. You have Casemiro; he's picked up 5 Champions League wins. Like you
yeah.
can. Rafael Varane picked up, I don't know, I mean at least 3.
I'm
And
just trying to see if you're being. Are
but
you trying to? Are you saying this to make the live more interesting, or do you actually
no,
believe in
this is
what you're
one
going to
hundred
say? That
percent my honest opinion, man. This is my honest opinion. But I don't believe Manchester United are a big team or a big club at all. They have been proving this since Alex Ferguson left. The only season where they were sort of successful was the one season they had Mourinho, and it's a situation it's a locker room situation. Yes, individually these are good players.
Yeah,
Yes, Manchester United has a very big budget, much bigger than Galatasaray can ever have. But when you look into the locker
yeah,
rooms, Manchester United players know for a fact that they're not lifting any trophies this year. Regardless of whether they win against Galatasaray or not, these guys are not winning a trophy this year. They know it. But when you look in the locker room of
yeah,
Galatasaray, I can guarantee you all those players are 100% convinced at the end of the season that they're going to be lifting minimum two trophies.
yeah,
Whether they
yeah,
do or don't,
yeah,
we'll see. But it's a very big difference, in mentality. And now in today's football, we've got 2 types of coaches. You got the football coach, guys like Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp. They're very obsessed with what the team is playing. It's a job.
yeah,
You go on the pitch. You do what I tell you. If you can do it, you're good. If you can't, you leave. It's very systematic, and you have your
yeah,
gameplay and this and that. And then you have the other type of coach. A great example would be Fatih Terim. Another would be Carlo Ancelotti. But these guys aren't really obsessed with their tactics. Of course, they're tacticians as well, but they're not obsessed with their tactics. What they're more obsessed with is the mentality of creating a champion team. You know, making those guys in that locker room believe that come end of season they'll be lifting trophies, and that's why, for example, just
yes,
2 years ago,
yeah,
I think Real Madrid, nobody saw it coming, but they won the Champions League against Liverpool. So I think Manchester United are a football team. They have a football coach, and they have a very bad football coach. Whereas Galatasaray have a coach
Yeah,
he's a new generation coach. He's kind of in between. He's a football coach, but he also knows that he's played in big clubs as well. Okan Buruk has played in very big
yeah,
clubs. He knows what the locker room mentality of a team that's going to end up lifting trophies, that's going to end up beating big teams like Manchester United needs to be like. So I think it was a
yeah,
mentality thing. Galatasaray were mentally uh, winners way before this game. Way before this game, they've been
yeah,
winners.
yeah.
Manchester. I'll put it to you this way and give it back to you. Manchester United have not been winners since Alex Ferguson left, whereas Galatasaray have been winners as long as they've been around.
Now look, to say that Manchester United is not a big team is a statement, right? You look at what Manchester United was and what they have been. I'm still pretty sure they are maybe top two or top three uh, marketers in the world in terms of a football club where they have fans from all over the world, right?
There's reasons for
Well,
that.
then again, what makes it a big
Outside of
team?
football for that. We're talking football. That's why I don't think they're a big team. It's an illusion.
Yeah,
There's
of course,
reasons
but
for that. The
Manchester
reasons are
United,
outside.
just the name Manchester United is enough to know who you're playing against, right?
Yeah, of
Now,
course.
mentally, it's probably a dream for every football player to be playing against Manchester United in Old Trafford. Now, whether the coach makes whether the decisions of the coach is right or wrong, that doesn't make a club smaller, right? It shows his performance. It shows the way he's handling the club. It shows how the committee and the management is trusting that coach. Has he made the right decisions? No, definitely not. You look at what happened with Ronaldo. You look at their forward choices. You look at their keeper choices. You look at what Manchester United has been. It's just been a mid-table team in England for the last few years. Yes,
Not few. 10
statistically,
years
they have
minimum.
not been playing. They have not been playing well. They haven't been, doing what they're supposed to do as Manchester United. But believe me, with Alex Ferguson's success in the 20 odd years that they had with him, there is a fan expectation from Manchester United. There's a fan expectation, not a fan expectation, there's a city expectation. And when they're playing in the top European league, there's the whole expectation of the country expecting an English team to win at home. Now, you can't reduce this to saying Manchester United is not a big team and Galatasaray didn't
No,
write
that's not what
history
I
yet.
said. But it's
When you look at Galatasaray's past 2 years, like not far, not except last year, the year before, if you told anyone that this team was going to beat Manchester United away in England, they would have laughed at you, right?
they
So
wouldn't. They
I
wouldn't,
think
man. They really wouldn't. This is
instead of
football. I
comparing,
really think it's football. Like it's about football. It's about being the better football team. Yes, as a club, maybe Manchester United is bigger.
yeah,
Obviously, we got so much more going for them. But it's about football and who plays football. And it's becoming more and more like that, which is why I feel like the future of soccer, of football, you know,
yeah,
everywhere is so bright because now you've got teams that are, playing the game, man. That they're doing things, they're
yeah,
doing things differently. Just in the Premier League, you've got Brighton, you've got Newcastle United, like Manchester United cannot, in terms of football, I'm talking in terms
yeah.
of football, Manchester United cannot even compete with these guys.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking
I
anything
think,
away from
look,
Galatasaray's win. It was a massive win, but I feel like Manchester United will finish this group fourth. It's not even about this game. I don't think they'll be beating Copenhagen either. Like maybe they'll take 4 points out of Copenhagen. I just don't. I'm telling you that Manchester United don't have that mentality to be a Champions League winning team.
yeah,
So
of course,
this,
no,
this, this
they haven't been, they
Galatasaray's win.
haven't played in the Champions League for the past, I don't know, a few years. That's the different topic. We're not talking about Manchester's performance at home or in Europe or anything like that. We're talking about Galatasaray's performance in the last 2 years, how it led up, how everyone talked them up to be something that they may or may not be. They signed all these big players. They barely made it into the Champions League when you look at the games that they had played. And then you've got, you know, now you're in the Champions League. You've played the weakest opponent in the league, in the group, at home, and you're down 2-0 at 80th minute. So when you look at it from a fan's perspective, from my perspective, there's so many reasons why this game will go into the books of for Galatasaray fans. The fact, like I said, the fact that they poured all this money into this team, the fact that uh, you've drawn again. If you didn't get a point or 3 points there, you were done in Europe. And then all the money you've spent for these big names, for the Icardis, the Zahas, the Tetes, the Matans, whoever it is that you bought, and you haven't made that. You are literally on 0 points or 1 point or 3 points by the end of these two games, match day two. It's not going to look good, right? So
I think
that's
we're
why
saying
I
the same
think
thing, mate.
that it was a big game for Gala. It was a must-win for Gala. It doesn't matter what everyone else says, and they did the job, and they did it in an interesting fashion where they lost. They lost chances. They were down twice. They were away. There were again all these things that came when you put them together. It was definitely a game to remember.
Definitely a game to remember. I agree. But just one quick fact. That's what we're saying the exact same thing. Galatasaray almost
Yeah,
lost to Copenhagen at home, which would be
yeah,
extremely unexpected. But why did
yeah,
that happen? That happened alongside obviously many other reasons. It happened because Copenhagen came to Istanbul with a mindset thinking we can win. If we play it right, we can win. Whereas I
yeah,
just don't believe Manchester United has that mentality. I don't see that mentality in that team. I feel like when a Man United player is walking on the pitch, doesn't matter if they're playing Galatasaray, Manchester City, or Brighton, they're thinking we lost last week, and if we lose
yeah.
again, like what next? We just got to get out of this. For them, it's not about lifting trophies or being consistent. For them, it's about winning this game, and that'll take you only so far. That's why I always thought Galatasaray were going to at least tie at Old Trafford. A win is definitely amazing. So I want to move on a little bit,
Yeah.
and
Regardless of what the fans
yeah,
think
I
and
want to
what,
talk just yeah. Let's go. Let me hear you
it
out.
was a good game. It was a proud moment. The players can think what they want. The coach can be, the coach can think what he wants to think. Man United can be big or small. They could be doing well or not. The win was great, especially for me. Waking up at 5 in the morning and being passionate and everything. Um, that was a great win for us, and I think there's more to come. Definitely more to come.
So let's move on to some individual, player performances, and let's compare these
Sure.
teams, and maybe we could even get on the screen the tactics.
Yeah.
So who do you think was the man of the match? I'll start with that. No, just before you
A
answer,
lot of
actually,
people won't agree with me here.
Hoyland.
It's
Let me just
Zaha, man.
Champions League pick the
It's
Champions League.
Zaha. Look,
Yeah.
if you put everything together for what out of the 22 players who have the most impact on the game, it's Hoyland. Definitely, it's Hoyland, right? But did they win the game? No. So therefore, I think picking a player of the match, it's got to go through the winning side, right? Now we're looking at. If you ask me who the player of the game was, I think it was Zaha. I honestly thought it was Zaha. I watched the game again. I watched the full thing again yesterday, and you look at what Zaha did with the ball, the way he, the way he held the ball, the way he didn't lose the ball, the way he challenged the other player, the way he uh, reacted to the fans. Right, you're at Old Trafford. You're getting booed. You've been there before. You've been dismissed, and you've been this and that, and to be able to get up from that 5 minutes after they're booing you on your sideline and to score a goal like that, like, don't take away from that goal. It wasn't a fluke. He controlled the ball thanks to Sanchez's assist. He dropped the ball in front of him, and he was also, grappling with the player to get the ball, to hit the ball. And he hit the ball. Doesn't matter if it touched the other player or whatever it is. In the yard box, for you to hit like that, ball to bounce, and you score, right? Because it was, don't forget, when we copped that 17th minute goal, I thought to myself, this is not looking good, right? Because we've gone 2-0 against Copenhagen, and you're 1-0 down now, and you're thinking, shit, what's going to happen here? Like, it could go to 2-0 and then see you later. But when Zaha does something like that, and he scores that goal, that definitely lifts
Yeah,
the spirit
especially if
of the
it's
team,
Zaha, it's like an
right?
extra motivation, huh?
It's Zaha in Old Trafford, and this guy is not playing amazing. He's only played like 2 starting 11s. So when you put all of them together, I think it really was Zaha. I was watching with a friend of mine. He was like, "Oh, Zaha, shit, take him off." But no, that wasn't the case. He held the ball when he needed to hold the ball. He passed it off when he passed the ball. There was a ball that he gave to Kenham in the 16-yard box, which he put outside of the goal. He didn't even get the goal within the frame. And you look at that pass in the 16-yard box. He's just gone. He's done a little trick and he's passed the ball to Kedem. And that's not what you expect in that moment, but he does it. He does. He's a very unexpected player. He's a player who's great with the ball, and even though he looks a bit clumsy, he can go. Like he can take you on and go. And we saw this in the Copenhagen game as well. They forget big teams and big players they show up in these games, man. I really think it was Zaha. Even though I'm a massive Icardi fan, it was Zaha
Nah,
for
the
me
Icardi was definitely not man of the match.
for this game.
in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
What do you think was who do you think played well?
I agree with you about Zaha playing good. Doing the job. Actually,
Yeah,
I think he did the job, and that's the thing. Like Galatasaray is, like I said, they have more of a manager who's got that mentality. So he'd be interested in what you did rather than what you were doing. If that makes sense.
yeah.
And so I
It
think
wasn't
Galatasaray,
an easy job though.
but
That's
but
the thing.
I think the man of the match, like without a question, for me, would be Sasha Boyman. Like, what a performance!
Yeah,
What a performance!
yeah, yeah.
And I want to actually pull up some of the statistics here. I had them. Let's see. Let's see.
Great performance.
So he
And I
was.
think we don't really touch on Sasha Boy as much because now we're used to this. The way he plays every game, in and out, wherever it is, whoever it's against, the way he plays, the way he carries the
He's
ball
so
forward,
physically fit and ready, man. He's just.
he's on, man. He's going to be one to watch in the coming years. I think it was the 92nd minute or something, and he was still sprinting up, trying to
Yeah. He
cross the
actually, when
ball
you look at his
and do
statistics,
something.
you see that's what I mean. It's about how you're looking at it, as a football fan or a football manager, because when I look at his statistics, he got a 6.5 rating, which sounds low, but it's because of a few, mistakes he made with the ball on foot.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
but
yeah,
anyone who's watched that game, these statistics are misleading. They'd realize they're misleading because this guy is the reason you guys actually won. It could have been 2-0, yeah. And
yeah.
I want to talk about that
It could have
position.
easily been 2, 3.
I
Yeah,
want
it
to.
was.
I
It
think
would have been
Manchester United had
very.
one chance to goal besides the ones they scored. And that was the one that Sasha Boy was able to. What do you call it? He was able to intercept Rashford's pass to Hoyland, and I want to talk about that position.
Yeah, that was
Rashford,
good.
what are you doing? Like, this is why Man United don't have that mentality. When I say this, I say it with good reason, man. Any like 80% of strikers, forwards, wingers, will take the shot in that
Yep.
position. It's you and the goalkeeper. Nobody's even close. Yeah, there's a bit of an angle, but what you're doing is he's literally, if you rewatch it, he's waiting for Hoyland to come. And like the defenders can see this. But
Yeah.
any top
That was
mentality
Bruno
player
Fernandez, by the
over
way.
there,
It wasn't
like
Holland.
if he had taken the shot and missed, and I were a Man United fan, I wouldn't be angry, man. I wouldn't be angry. Like, because if you're there, you
Yeah.
do it. You take the shot. So I think that position within itself and how Sasha Boy intercepted the ball changed the game a lot as well. Because it still would have been possible, in my opinion, but it would be much harder to come back from 2-0.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Like I said, after 1-0, again,
And then you
coming
also
back
have
scoring,
Davinson
they changed the
Sanchez's
game.
performance as well. I want to hear your comments on him, because if you're so easily able to pick Zaha, why not
Yep,
Sanchez? All right, Sasha Boy doesn't really have the statistics, but Sanchez got 2
yep.
assists. You know,
Look, Sanchez was a. I love playing FIFA, right? And I used to always pick Sanchez as my centre back, especially when he was in Tottenham, obviously in his prime. When Gala signed Sanchez as a last minute transfer, even though I was happy, I thought it was a risky one because if he was doing so well, and I think the Tottenham fans didn't mind it. They didn't really like Ndombele back, but they did like Sanchez, and they were actually not very happy about him leaving, even though I don't think he was getting enough time. Now Sanchez started playing 2 games. I think if this was his third game, starting 11, and the first game he played in Istanbul, he did really well. He was we've had Nelson for a while now, and he's been really good at the back, and we didn't look like we were missing Nelson at all. What's interesting about Sanchez is he's a very athletic player. He can jump very high. He can get those headers. He can score goals. He can get to those high balls that are the most probably dangerous for a defense. What is interesting about Sanchez is he assists, man. He actually sends the ball forward, and if you have half decent forwards, which I think we do, like Zaha and Icardi and those guys, they actually can take the ball and they can flick the ball and they can cause drama at the back for the opponent. Now Sanchez did really well, no doubt. I wouldn't take it away from him. But at the same time, when you look at the whole game and the way when Manchester United came, they did create chances. There was always, oh, this is looking risky. Even though they didn't end up scoring, there was a lot of shots on goal. I think there was 6 or 7, and they were from within inside the box. So seeing Sanchez play was comforting, but at the same time it was sloppy. We saw that it was sloppy when with a bad pass from Sergio, he slipped and we copped the second goal. But we also see that he hasn't gelled 100% with the team as yet. But you think if he's playing like this now with that confidence, how is he going to be within 6, 7 games come November or December? But what I really love about him is that he's a very strong player. He has passion. He can play 90 minutes, even though he's maybe not match fit ready yet. And he assists, man. He thinks about sending the ball forward. I really don't like playing it back with the keeper and passing around each other. He has a more forward vision, and I think with an attacking squad like Galatasaray has, we need that. We need the ball up front.
so I want to ask you about someone who I know you love very much, but you need to be honest. What's
Sure.
Galatasaray gonna do with Muslera? What do you think about Muslera? I mean, I don't think he had a great game.
Muslera has been. Whenever I think about Muslera, I get a bit sad knowing that he's going to be leaving soon, because this guy has been in our team for 13 years, I believe, 12 or 13 years since we had. I think it was Lorik Sana we gave away, and we got him from Lazio.
That's the deal of the century, mate. We got to make a video about that deal.
Yeah, when you think about it, it really is for the value that he has added to Gala. Muslera is a great goalkeeper. He plays for the national team. Obviously, he played for the national team many years. Now he makes mistakes. No doubt he makes mistakes. But again, man, everybody's going to make mistakes. You can't take it away from him. You can't take it away that he's one of the legendary keepers that played for Gala. He's our captain. We love him. Not just the Gala fans. I think every Turkish football fan loves
He's
him.
definitely got
Not just
a lot of
likes him,
credit.
but
That's
they
so
like
much
him.
credit.
He's not controversial. He's very He's friendly, he's likable, he's respectful. He doesn't talk crap after games. He doesn't, try to waste time or tries to injure players or anything like that. He goes out, plays his game, plays well, plays with heart, plays with passion. He reacts to the fans. He knows that the fans are behind him, especially when Ultrasan is behind him. And I've seen this live in the stadium. He has that extra confidence, and he's a legend for the team. I think, unfortunately, we'll probably see him go in a year or two. But having said that, I think he's also very happy in Istanbul, and he will stay. He will stay with his family, and we'll probably see him as a coach for the goalkeepers in Gala. And he's only going to leave because of the I think he's 37 or somewhere there. So he's going to be leaving because of that, not because Gala wants to get rid of him.
And if he wants to leave as a legend, he needs to leave soon. That's all I'll say. And let's.
When I say leave, he's not leaving to go to play for another club. I think he would retire, Gala.
Oh, yeah, exactly. When I say leave, 100%, he needs to maybe join the training staff.
Yes.
Or maybe take a couple of years off football. He definitely needs to. I definitely think he needs to finish football in Galatasaray as a legend, because he can.
Yes.
So why wouldn't you?
I agree.
But let's talk about Galatasaray's chances, man, in the Champions League, and let's try and be realistic about it. Is
Yeah.
staying in the Champions League, progressing, most likely as second place, meaning you're gonna draw somebody who's finished first place, what you'd prefer over going to the UEFA? Because you can actually win that league, but the Champions League,
Yeah.
I don't know. So, what's your take on that?
Um,
Just give me a short answer, and then I want to continue. I want to actually add on to it a bit.
the chances of Gala playing and proceeding in the Champions League after the Manchester United game, I think it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot mentally. It's changed a lot physically as well for the players to believe in themselves more. Yes, the current Manchester United situation is different, but Galatasaray and the Turkish teams, or the Turkish national team in particular, they have this unexpected reaction in them that you don't really, feel and see what they're going to do. Now, we've seen Gala come back from these 1 or 2 nils, but then there's also the chance that if they make it out of the group, and Bayern hasn't lost in 32 games, right? They haven't lost a group stage game in 32 past games. This is massive. I think they've just drawn a couple of times, and the rest of them they just kept winning. Now they're going to come to Istanbul. Having said that, we've had the biggest club in the world. We've had Real Madrid come to Istanbul, and if you guys haven't, I would love for you to watch that game. We had them. We had Real Madrid at home to be knocking them out and going to the quarterfinals. Now, can they do it again? I think they can. I really think they can. Not, I wouldn't say they're going to go and win the cup in their first year back after so many years, but I really think that they could be a top 8 team. It all depends on how Ziyech and how Ndombele and how Zaha and Sanchez and Icardi and how well they gel together. Because these guys are big players. They're players that are at their, I would say, prime, because they played for the smaller leagues. They played for the bigger leagues. They played for those teams that they're not trying to prove themselves to go to the next level. It's almost like they're trying to regain and show the world what they are, and especially to these teams that they had
And
a
they're playing in
bad
front of
past
an
with.
amazing group of fans, which is always going to be.
Of
It's
course,
something you
yeah.
can't find anywhere else,
If it wasn't for the fans and their effect on the game, I wouldn't be talking about Bayern coming to Istanbul and us possibly, getting a point out of them. But knowing what the atmosphere is like, I was there a couple of months ago, and it's unbelievable, man. It's everything you need to win a game, right? So, would I prefer Gala going to the UEFA or the Europa League instead of playing the round of 16? No, I would love for them to get out of the group and have a good chance at making the quarterfinals. I would say if Gala made it to the quarterfinals, it'll be a great success. again, I see them as probably top 8 in the league, in the Champions League. But I'd rather see them play a quarterfinal than go to the Europa League and play against the smaller competition, I should say. Definitely want them to out of the group. If they're not going to obviously make it out of the group, then you would want the Europa League option. But I'd rather see them win a round of 16, get out of the group, win a round of 16.
Guaranteed the Europa League. I feel like Galatasaray is guaranteed it. So with the scores at hand.
Yes, given if Bayern wins all their games, you don't know. You never know what's going to happen with with football. Us giving like when you looked at the draw, Copenhagen at home was a guaranteed win for us, and then the Manchester United game away was a draw. And then now you look at it, it's changed. So having those 4 points in the first 2 games is definitely going to be a big plus come match day 6.
As a Galatasaray fan, so you're saying, and that's actually what I was trying to hear and understand. As a Galatasaray fan, you're saying you would love to see your team go up against the top competition, Real Madrid, City, Arsenal, whoever makes it out of those groups. You'd rather, do your best, and who knows? Like I said, man, at football,
yeah,
right on the field.
Of
so
course.
Who knows?
And that's what Galatasaray is like. That's where they are. That's where they should be, mentality-wise, fan-wise, history-wise.
100%.
They don't
That's
have
where they
anything
are.
less than what the teams that you mentioned. Yes, they might have a bigger global audience, and they may have a better marketing team, and obviously more money. But when you look at the mentality and where they position themselves, Gala, even though they haven't been doing really well in the past few years, they really are a top shelf team, and we will see this. We will see this if everything goes to plan, and we can put on top of what we're doing at the moment. We will see that Gala will be up there, and there'll be a lot more talk about Galatasaray, which hopefully we will be doing as well on Top Flight Football.
So let's say if Galatasaray actually makes it out of the group, then Galatasaray will be having a very exciting transfer season. Let's put a pin in the Champions League for now over there, up until
Yes,
the Bayern,
definitely.
which is going to be interesting. It's going to be a good test for Galatasaray, by the way, the Bayern game. Let's talk about that just before we end it, because
Sure.
I've seen Bayern play against United. I haven't watched them against Copenhagen, but I've watched them against United, and they just toyed with United, man. Like the score is a bit deluding. It ended 4-3, but I mean, Bayern were in control of that game from the first minute to the last, and they are definitely a different level of team. They are, because they have the football and they have the mentality. The Bayern locker room, they know they're lifting, the German championship this year, and they're like 50-60% sure they might lift the Champions League, which they actually might. Of the teams I've seen, they're much better than last year, especially with Kane.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting game.
I think the top 3. They predicted to win it. Top 3 in the Champions League this year.
So what are you expecting about that? It's going to be at home, so it's going to be like a festival, man. Can you tell us a little, and we'll end it there, about the Champions League? Tell us a little what that game's going to be like in terms of the fans, for people who might want to go but can't. What's that stadium going to be like?
The fans are going to be, they're going to be the main decider of that. The fans are going to turn up. They always turn up. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter who you're playing against. Even if you're 1 or 2-0 down, in the Turkish league, we don't lose hope. We know like something's going to happen. Okan's going to make some changes. The big players are going to step up. Icardi's going to do something, and we're going to win that game. Now, Bayern is going to be the biggest, I guess, challenge and decider for what's been coming. Right? It's probably one of the worst opponents you could have picked out of the group stages. Bayern is always Bayern. You just know about Bayern winning. They dominate the German league. They dominate everything they're playing. But it's going to be interesting to see them come to Istanbul. It's going to be a festival, like you said. The fans have to really get behind them. I believe we've got the national team, the games. We've got a bit of a gap there for some of the players to catch up as well, and that's going to give him a good preparation time. It's going to go either way. Either it's going to be a, a sort of a 2-3 goal loss for Gala, or they will step up and win the game. I don't think it's going to be a draw, even though you would expect that having won against Manchester United. But as a fan, I believe in the team. I really believe that we could surprise everyone. And if we win that game, you're at 7 points. Then then it doesn't really matter, because then Bayern has to also win all their games for them
First
to
place.
be number one in the group, which they always play for. I'm excited about the game. I'm more comfortable about the game because at the start of it, it was 2 losses against Bayern. But now that I've seen the spirit that the team has shown, I'm happy to be hopeful about it. And you don't know what's going to happen.
Listen,
but
man.
I
I
really
mean,
think we have a good chance.
definitely Bayern, are the favorites, but Bayern have a lot to watch out for. They're coming to Istanbul. You've got Kerem, super speedy player for a
Yeah,
team that plays as high as Bayern Munich. Their defensive line is very high up. So you've got Kerem.
yeah,
You're gonna have a nice Ziyech coming back, who's gonna be, making that play on that line if he can. If he can. You've got Zaha, who's
yeah,
again, another speed machine. And on top of all that, you've got Icardi, who's just as good a finisher as Kane. So
yeah.
anything's possible,
Yeah,
but of
definitely.
course, this game, like with the Manchester United game, had we done a live, you know me, I've been saying it for a while that
Yeah,
Galatasaray were likely to win against Man United if they survived the first 20 minutes, which is what happened.
yeah,
But with Bayern, obviously, Bayern are different. They're definitely going to get in more positions than you guys. That's a given. They're going to catch more positions than you guys. So it's all going to be dependent on how well your finishers are going to be and how well your keeper is going to be that day. But everything is possible. Like it's not
yeah,
impossible. I
yeah.
feel like a tie could happen. I don't think it's a far off chance. I feel like if Galatasaray plays smart, like what Okan did in Manchester, like I think it was just a bit wrong as well. Like I would have played Abdul Kerim as left back. I wouldn't have played Angelino, but he proved himself right. He said,
Mm-hmm.
"Nah, I don't need a defensive left back. I'm here to win." Because
Yeah,
Angelino is
that's what it is.
very, very big problem defensively for Galatasaray. He's not performing well at all.
Mm.
Offensively, he gives you something, but defensively, almost nothing. So I think against Bayern, you're going to need to have Abdul Kerim on your left back. You're going to need to have that
Yeah,
Kaan Ayhan Torreira in the center again. And I don't know who you bench, from that, but you definitely need to play. You just need to stop them first, and then you need to deal with them, in terms of scoring. Let's say that,
yeah.
and let's put a pin in the Champions League and move on to the Be Trendy Super League. So Galatasaray have tied in one game, which was the opening game, Kayserispor, and they've been winning ever since. How do you like your team in the Super League, mate? What do you think about them?
Um, in the Super League, what do I think about the team? The team is doing well in the Super League. They're winning. That's what it, I guess, comes down to. They are making progress. They're getting their 3 points. Are they playing great? No, they're not playing great. Are they, giving their opponents too much chances? Yes. Did we see this happen in last year's starting games? Yes, we did. It took about 10 weeks for Gala to sort of, get their thing right, get their bearings right. But then what happened after 10 games? They had a streak of not, they won 14 games in a row. They bet their opponents in and outside of Istanbul. They bet Fenerbahce 3-0. I think they bet Besiktas as well at the start, the first game. They just played well, and that's what they do. They turn up to the games. They have the depth of the squad to play the game. You got all those players that they can move around and juggle, and I think that's why they made those transfers, is so they can do well in the Super League, in the Turkish league. Trendyol, and
Yeah.
and win the games. They're winning. Am I happy with their performance? Does it excite me and wake me up to watch them in the league? No, but I still do wake up. I still do watch them, and I think they turn up when they need to, and that's what you need to do at the moment with all these 5, 6 new players that you're trying to gel in the team, and you're trying to deal with Champions League games and the national team breaks and the players going away. That's all you have to do now, and that's what they're doing.
So since we've started talking about the Super League, let's bring in Besiktas and and Fenerbahce as well, because the Super
Yeah,
League is always a race between these three. Well, not always, but mostly. And it definitely seems it's going to be like that this year, more so between Fener and Galatasaray rather than Besiktas,
yeah,
which is very disappointing. But that is the case. Fenerbahce, I think, have a 2-point lead on Galatasaray. They've won all their games so far.
yeah.
And Besiktas are in chaos. So let's talk a bit about Besiktas.
Hmm.
There's a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Besiktas are in chaos. They've lost to a team called Lugano from Switzerland.
Yep.
And
Yep.
no one in Turkey knew about this team until just yesterday when we played them. It was a game you were meant to win. And
Yeah.
we were winning 2-0 up until the 80th minute,
Hmm.
and we lost
Crazy.
3-2. Crazy. There was a red card and whatnot, but that's just not an excuse. So that led to chaos in Besiktas. The coach has quit now, so we don't have a coach as of now. Our chairman has said he's going to, hold elections for anyone who wants to be new chairman of the team, because the fans have been wanting him out for quite a while.
Yeah.
And for people that might not know and that might be interested, it's important to take a look at what happened over the last 3 years with Besiktas, because Besiktas 2 seasons ago, 3 years ago, Besiktas were champions. And it was a legendary championship. And that's what the coach had actually said. He said, I want everyone to remember this championship as a legendary championship. And it was legendary for many reasons, but I'll only talk about one. And that one big reason for me was that for like the last 11 or 12 games of the season, we had a roster of like 14 people. Like you can change 5 players, but we didn't even have 5 guys on the bench. We had kids obviously sitting, but we had so many injuries. And despite all the injuries, we ended up finishing champions by average, in front of Galatasaray. And we had, if you remember, we had started the league extremely bad that season, just like this season actually. But our coach managed to turn things around, and this actually became the start of the downfall for Besiktas, because then, the chairman was like, "Yep, I have a champion team. We are the Turkish champions, so I'm successful." In reality, it was the coach that was successful, because that was a very bad squad, just like this year. And then last year, was bad. The next year was bad. Nobody said anything. We had a lot of coaches changing. And then this year was supposed to be the year where everything picks up, because we had who quit now. We had a very, very proper coach. But like the team they've given him, it's a bunch of people who've given up on football, and a bunch of nobodies who are just never going to be in anybody. You invest in someone, there needs to be some potential. The investments Besiktas have made so far, like they bought a player called Onana from Nice in France, and this guy we paid about 5 million for his contract, and we're paying him about 2.5 on a year. So that's like, and you gave him like a 4-year contract, so that's about 15 million out the window. And this guy, since arriving, he's played about 150 minutes in total, in which we conceded 8 goals in those 150 minutes, And
Wow.
so there's a lot of chaos going on in Besiktas. But now I believe it's time to get back up. It's going to take a minute, because we need a new chairman, we need a new coach, and we have a very, very problematic squad. We've got Ante Rebic. He's given up on football. Don't know if he's ever coming back. Oxlade-Chamberlain, don't remember the last time I've seen him play. Yes, at some point he was an amazing player, but I mean, it's not like you don't buy these players to Besiktas, because Besiktas locker room also is a champion locker room. Like start of that season, the Besiktas locker room also believes they'll be lifting at least 2 trophies by the end of the year, But you're starting to bring in players who who don't understand this mentality. For them, the game is a game. They come, they play, they go home. It's football. You give me the tactics, I do my job, I go. That's that's not how it works with big clubs. That's not how it works with Barcelona. That's not how it works with Real Madrid. That's not how it works with
Right.
none of the big clubs. But so the the chairman, what I'm trying to say, has kind of simplified Besiktas. So we're going into
Mm.
elections, and these elections I think
What
will be good.
happened?
We'll be getting a new.
2-0, you were up 3-2, Lugano scores. I think before 3-2, the fans, they were just reacting, they were showing what they felt. The Turkish Football Federation's president was at the game, and you had
Yes,
your
it's funny.
chairman sitting next to each other, and the fans were swearing at him, and they weren't saying nice things at all. And something happened there where the federation's president actually, pointed fingers at the chairman, and he left the game 44th minute. You never see that happen. That never happens in football. Well, not never, but it's a very rare sight, right? And to see the fans react in such a way against the president of the Turkish Football Federation, and then the fans, are now even more angry at him because he pointed that finger to the president. They said, "Oh, how can you point fingers at our president?" Even though we don't like our president, we're Besiktas, we're a football team of
Yeah.
many, decades, and how can you?
But what do you think about this? Really, like, you put yourself in the Besiktas fans' shoes. When your federation president comes to your
Well,
stadium,
that's what I'm going to ask you. Well, what?
literally
First of
threatens
all,
your
first of
chairman.
all,
He threatens
swearing
your
at
chairman.
anyone's mother, I'm not for. Okay, it doesn't matter what you are, doesn't
So
matter
in
what
other
your opinion.
stadiums, it's
You don't
people laugh
swear at
at that.
mothers. Okay, you can swear at him, but you don't call his mum names, right? Now, tell me why. Where is
That's
this
how it goes
anger?
in
Where is
football.
this?
You can't think like that. That's how it goes in your stadium. That's
Yes,
how it goes in my stadium. That's how it goes in anybody else's stadium. And
it
Besiktas
does.
fans
But
have
when
been
you
cussing
have
at this guy with good
literally
reason.
maybe 60% of the stadium, I think it was, screaming and chanting that. Women, kids. Uh, there's some footage from the stands I was watching. It is next level. And what is the reason for that?
I'll
That's what
tell
I
you
want
the
to ask
reason.
you.
I'll tell you the reason. It's not even about the reason. What is the reason for this guy's arrival at the Besiktas Stadium? Because he knows, for anyone that doesn't know, it's important to clarify. For the last 2.5 years, the Besiktas club and the Turkish Football Federation have been at it. Like, the Besiktas chairman and the federation president have been at it. There were times when the federation president came out and literally said, "I don't care what the Besiktas chairman thinks." Like, you can't say
I
things
don't
like
think
this
anyone
about
does.
teams.
Anyway, yeah,
You,
you
you know.
can't say that.
So what made him think? What made him think after all of the buildup of tension for 2.5 years that he could just show up at our stadium? What did the Fenerbahce chairman say to him? He said, "You can't come to my stadium, and this is why. This is what Ali Koch
Yeah.
meant when he said you can't come to my stadium to the same guy. Because if he goes there, the same thing's going to happen there as well." So what made this guy think he could just come here, a club he's been against since day one, and he's openly said it. It's not even like a conspiracy at this point anymore. He's openly said he doesn't care about Besiktas's ideas. He's openly threatened. He's openly threatened other clubs to not support Besiktas. When it comes down to voting for stuff. Like, this all happened within the last 2 3 years, and then all of a sudden, when the team is going bad, because Besiktas have been going bad this season, if we can't blame one
Yeah.
guy this year, it's the federation. Like, we're bad. So why are you showing up in my stadium all of a sudden? And so
Mm.
you did, and this happened. I don't condone what happened. I don't condone what happened, but it was going to happen. Like, he knew it was going to happen. Our chairman knew it was going to happen. Our chairman is equally to blame for, like, telling not that for allowing this guy to come. Like, because he also knew this was going to happen, and this is why I don't like the chairman of Besiktas. He tried to use this, as a game. He wanted to bring this guy. He wanted to bring this guy to the stadium so the fans boo him rather than the chairman, because the fans have been booing the chairman for like last 5-10 games. So, and it backfired. The fans now the chairman's gone. The federation is now a bigger enemy, and you've lost the season, mate. The season is gone. So there's, I don't know. We have to wait and see what happens, but it's very chaotic. And you don't
Yeah.
think we're to blame in this, huh?
What's that?
And you think that the club is to blame at this, not the federation?
No, not at all. Not at all. Look, I'm not saying that. I just want to really understand why the anger comes towards the man himself, right? Gala, Fener, Besiktas, they've all been having a go at the federations, the refs, and with all the voice and the noise they can make. But there wasn't good scenes. It wasn't ugly scene. It was ugly scenes. Did it happen? Did it need to happen for Besiktas to go to an election? I think this needed to happen, and it did. It's probably going to be good for Besiktas because you're 7 weeks in. You want to be, challenging the league. If you ask me, at the start of the season, I thought Besiktas would have been a challenge because of the way they, finished the league last year. And I think it's still early days. Fener, I think, will still lose points. Making a right choice at the moment. There's talks about Sergen Yalçın. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, I mean,
But
that would be the obvious correct choice, by the way. I don't know how.
yeah. So yeah, it's good. Whatever's happened, as bad it is for Turkish football's, uh, image. I think it needed to happen for Beşiktaş,
Yeah,
for Şenol Güneş. The thing is, what you don't see in clubs is either the coach goes or the president goes. And it looks like they're both gone now. So like, there has to be some major
because like
decisions
this is a big club,
being
man,
made.
and that's why they're both going. This is a big club, and the fans are capable, not only responsible, but capable of removing anyone from the seat they want. The fans have been wanting the chairman gone for about 3 years now. 3 months now, since the end of last season, because you don't not lift the trophy for 2 years and stay at Besiktas. You don't do that.
Yeah,
Same for
yeah,
Galatasaray, not for Fener, interestingly, but same for Galatasaray as well. So, and it took the fans, and this guy's just been fighting it, like, oh, give me one more chance. This year I've got it, but this year is the worst of his, stay at Besiktas. So,
yeah. It's look.
props to
I'll tell you
Besiktas
the
fans
reason
that were
is
able to kick this guy out in 3 months.
simple
I
as
think
well.
that's
Yeah,
good news, and it's good that it happened early. I want to move on to Fenerbahce for a
yeah.
little bit. They've really started strong this year. For anyone that might not know, I want to give a little bit of back info. So these guys are yet to be champion for like the last 11, 12 years now. So there's a big pressure within the community, for this Turkish League championship, because to be fair, it's not normal for Fenerbahce to not win the league for 11 years straight. Um, so they're under big pressure, but they've started like really good into the season, and I think this year might be the year they actually pull it off. But, and this is a big but, if you look at their last 11 years, they always start strong, but they always
Percent,
finish
percent.
weak. So what do you think about them this year, though, man? Like they've started stronger compared to previous years.
Definitely. They started strong. They had to start strong. Uh, I think if you go backwards, you have to start at their president. We're talking about Ali Koch. I think he's been here for 5 years. You haven't won a trophy, right? You're the biggest, one of the biggest families in Turkey. You have the biggest impact in terms of wealth and power in Turkey. So people expect a lot from you, and because you got rid of Aziz Yildirim, who was, when you look at it now, he was a mastermind compared to what Ali Koch has been done. I think there are a lot of fans who are sour about Ali Koch, who thought his uh, presidency was supposed to be ending last year, especially what they did with the George Jesus, and then the way they played. I guess their season ended up last year. So this year, this guy is thinking, man, this is my last chance with the fans, right? This is, I either make it right or I go down as a failure in the history of Fenerbahce. And this is coming from me. I'm not even a Fenerbahce fan, so I can see that. I can see the pressure that is on him. Uh, when you couple that with how Galatasaray has been playing, how they're in the Champions League now, how they've signed all these players. So it was a bit of a competition between each other to say who's going to sign, better players. You had Zaha supposedly being taken away from their hands. You had Szymanski and Fred, who was supposed to go to Gala, and then they decided to go to Fener, even though they had to pay more for them to convince them. You had these little competitions in between each other. And when you look at that now, looking at it from Ali Koch's, I guess, vision and hopes and dreams, he had to get it right. And they got it right in terms of their squad. I think they probably have one of the best, if not the best squad on paper in the team in the league at the moment. Um, Putting aside Gala's signings and how ready they are, you look at Dzeko, Tadic, Szymanski, even Ryan Kent, Joshua King is really doing well. You've got the defenders as well. So the team has gone through an overhaul, and when you look at the finishings in the last year's rankings, they've finished second, right? So you think an overhaul wasn't necessary, but this guy said, you know what, we have to change everything again. They've sold big players, they've bought big players, they've spent a lot of money, they've also earned a lot of money. So I think this year Fenerbahce has to win it. They really need to win it. The fans are angry. The fans. Um, it's really a trailer what we're seeing from Besiktas at the moment. That if Fenerbahce doesn't win the league, or they start, losing points again, it's going to turn into chaos. I can see that from happening. The fans will be not happy in the stands. He brought a coach again. That was the biggest risk he's taken. He's brought back a coach for the third time now, and he was said that it was a mistake that he had sent him. So even though the fans were expecting a bigger coach than George Jesus in terms of performance, he actually brought Ismail Kartal, who's
No,
like the guy
can
who
I
helps
jump in
him
there actually?
go back.
Because I
What's
actually
that?
want to talk about Ismail Kartal, and
Yeah,
like in Turkish media
yeah.
is really like saying, they keep writing this. They keep saying Fener has the best squad they've had in their own history, and any coach
Sure.
can make this team a champion. I strongly oppose to that. I
No. Yeah.
strongly oppose to that. And I'll tell you why. Like, first off, this is a good squad, very good squad, but I've seen better Fenerbahce squads, like
Yeah.
easily. I've
Yeah.
seen better. Two, I mean, there's a really big transfer success here. Who was Szymanski like until you bought him? Like, he didn't have like as much goals as he scored already. In his last 2 years.
Yeah.
That's a very big successful transfer. It's a scouting business. Three,
Yeah.
if a team has yet to lose a game since the start of the season, whether it's friendly, European Cup, League Cup, and they've conceded like what 10 goals, there's something the manager's doing something the other managers weren't doing. And on top of that,
Yeah.
like they made some risky transfers. I think Dzeko was a risky transfer. It worked out. Fred was a risky transfer in my opinion as well. It worked out. They got the goalie. I think we still have to wait on the goalie. It's too soon to speak about a goalie.
Yeah.
But I think they have a good team rather than good players. So that's why I think this year it might be different. Because let's be honest, up until this year, the problem always was they never had that locker room mentality either. Fenerbahce, they lost it for the last 10 years. I think this year they've kind of regained it. They've had, you know, weird players coming into the club. After all those champions left. After Volkan left, Emre left, Gökhan Gönül left, Caner Erkin left. These were the champions of Fenerbahce. These were the guys that picked this team up and took it forward. When these guys left, none of them were replaced. None of them were replaced. Not maybe they were replaced in terms of talent, but none of them were replaced in terms of leadership and championship
Yeah.
mentality. So I think, and that's what Fenerbahce had been lacking for years. That's why they were never able to get that title despite coming so close. Because it's not just a matter of signing talented players, mate. Let's bring up the.
Definitely. Ismail Kartal knows the league. He's been following the league for the last God knows how many years. He knows the players he has at hand. He's a less riskier option for Fenerbahce, and at the moment is proving to be doing the right things.
So let's bring on screen the league points standings, and let's talk over it. Can you see the standings? Open up the standings.
Yeah, I will do that.
So wow, man, Besiktas is already.
I think they're 9 points behind or something.
Yeah, they're like 8 points behind.
I was looking at it last night.
8 behind Fener, and then 6 behind Gala. Adana Demirspor is,
that's look.
Adana Demirspor is also like a Turkish club. Well, which not today, obviously, but we will end up talking about. And they've got Patrick Kluivert. For anyone that might not know,
As a coach, yes.
as a coach, they've got Patrick Kluivert, and they've been doing good, man. They beat Besiktas. They scored 4 goals. So you think it's too soon to speak over the league standings, huh? Of what might happen.
It's too soon to speak about them, but at the same time, when we look at what happened last year, it was only the second last game that Gala were title champions. So yes, it's too soon to talk about them, but I think in a very competitive, very narrow league, these points are going to come in handy. I think even the goals will come in handy when you come towards the end of it. That's why Beşiktaş fans are so upset. They know that it's very hard to win the league. So that's why they want a new coach. They want a new team, pretty much, a new president. And I think that winning your games is very important here because, again, at the start of the league, you do well if you're Fenerbahce and then you kind of start losing points towards the middle. So, yes, the league is 7 weeks in. Yes, the points don't seem that they make a big difference. But what we see in terms of standing now, with Adana Demirspor being up there, I think we're going to see that. That's going to become normal to see them up there. They've just got a great president. I think that tells it all. The way he is, the way he reacts, the way he communicates, the connection he has with his players. He brought Balotelli back. Like these guys are hard to bring back. They're slippery. So you've got your core team, which has been playing for many years. You've got your Belhanders and these guys that are really good players in their own capacity, and they're going to be a very good team. We'll see them play. I believe Beşiktaş will. Yeah.
I was saying, I feel like they have the best player in the league so far. They have the most informed player in the league so far, Yusuf Sarı. I don't know if you've been following up on him.
Yes, Yusuf Sarı. Yeah, there's a. When we talk about them, we'll talk about them as well. And they've been playing together. It's not like, let's get all these bunch of players and let's see how they go. They've just been adding on to their performance year on year. So we'll see them play against Gala. I think just after the Manchester United game at home. So it's going to be interesting. We will be seeing a lot of the Fenerbahce has been playing well. They've been scoring a lot of goals. Adana Demirspor again, they've just scored another 4 goals against Alanya. You've got Gala who are winning games. It's going to be an interesting league. I think Beşiktaş will spring back into action, but how early they do that and how much of an effect that will have, we'll see. It's just about getting things right first. You got Trabzon who didn't start off well, and then they ended up scoring 3 goals against Beşiktaş.
Even Trabzon, man. Like the more we talk, actually, even Trabzon has made some different transfers. They got Pepe,
massive signing.
Was sold for 80 million euros 2 years ago, and then they got a striker.
I was at the Trabzon game. I was at the Trabzonspor game in Istanbul when Gala beat them 2-0. And from what I saw, they weren't anything special in terms of a threat. I thought we had really good control of the game.
No, but they made like 4 transfers after that game. They made like 4 transfers after that game.
Yes. And they have to. Trabzon is a massive city. It's a big football city. The fans expect success. They won the league. Was it 3 4 years ago?
Yeah,
So there is that expectations
actually
from them.
making a video about Trabzon winning the league as well. We'll be making a video about,
Yeah,
because we want to like just I kind of interrupted you, sorry, man, but like while we've
no, it's
said
all
it,
good.
let's talk about it a little bit. We really want to bring to you guys what the
Yeah.
Trendyol Turkish Super League has to offer. There's
Yes,
serious
yes,
competition in the league. There's serious quality of football played. I wouldn't say pitches are that great everywhere, but the football is there.
yeah,
And on top of everything, you've got fans, man. You've got crazy fans, you've got crazy competition, and you've got these teams, with stories. And Trabzon is one of them. Trabzon is a one of a kind club in the world, in the sense that Trabzon
yeah.
is a city in Turkey, and you go to that city, you will not find anybody else supporting any other football team.
Any other
Like
teams?
the
That's right.
entire city supporting one football club wholeheartedly. It's not even like, yeah, I'm just a fan. It's a very hardcore, die-core thing.
Yeah.
So,
And even
and
when they're in Istanbul, even if they live
coming
in
up with
Istanbul
like,
and they're from Trabzon,
yeah,
they do support Trabzon. It's not just, hey, I'm living here, so I'm gonna support them.
no, man, it's
Even in the
different.
big city,
You've got
that's
Adana
so good.
Demirspor coming up. They have a crazy backstory, of how they made it back into the Turkish Super League with what their chairman did and all. You've got up
Yes.
and coming young coaches who are playing different games. It's not just media is in English, so everything
Yeah.
available to the foreign viewer is in English. So people who like football are kind of forced to watch Premier League propaganda. But it's not
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Brighton that's playing a different kind of football. There are a lot of other clubs outside of England, in France, in Turkey, in Germany, in Holland, everywhere, that are trying different tactics, bringing up new coaches. And that's how Ten Hag went to Manchester United. He was an up and coming coach who apparently didn't turn out to be so good. But we'll be bringing all of this to you, from our channel, Top Flight Football TV. And stay tuned, man, because the Turkish
We're
League
on
has a
Twitter
lot to
as
offer.
well.
Next
We're on
year, we're going to have
YouTube.
3 teams in the Champions League, by the way, next year. We're going to have 3 teams going to the Champions League next year with the new Champions League format.
Massive, massive. So top flight football again, like we said, we are here to give you guys updates. There's been a lot of transfers to the league. There's been a lot of big names. There's been a lot of talk about the Turkish league. They're in the Champions League. They're in the Europa League. They're in the Conference League. They're doing well in all of them. The national team, not so well, but the points that we're getting, FIFA rankings are going up. There is a lot of sort of focus on Turkish football. So what we want to do is there's a lot of resources to learn and find out and be updated about the Turkish football in Turkish, but we don't see a good channel, a good resource of information in English. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to come to you guys with the European competitions and how well the teams are doing in there. Then we're going to really touch on Super League as well because I think there's good competition, there's good excitement there. We're going to be doing lives. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. Obviously, do your thing. Subscribe. Do like whatever thumbs up
Yes,
you guys
guys,
need to do.
subscribe, like, follow, and we'll
Yeah.
be bringing to you what we can.
Yeah. Hopefully, and it's going to get better. It's going to get more entertaining and more engaging. And we'll see you again in the next live or video.